And hopefully I don't have indigestion in this episode.
Yeah, because I can't send my Tums to you because,
No, and I don't know where mine are, like, just off the top of my head, so I
yeah.
can't just quickly squirrel myself into the wherever and grab them. They used to be
Yeah.
next to my desk, but then Jesus needed them, and now they have moved.
Yeah. I've got some in my
So
bag, but I used to keep some in the car.
we are recording because
Oh,
we need to get
okay.
on with it.
Woo! Let's get it on. All right. Welcome back. Hello.
Hello,
Hello.
just two old ladies talking about their
Hello,
digestive
ladies.
issues.
You know,
Welcome
you
back to another
know.
episode of Why Does My Tummy Hurt?
Old lady goals. Old lady goals. Oh man, I could really use some sushi right now. Anyway,
I I
so
was gonna say millennial stuff, but you're Gen Z, so it doesn't work.
I am. I am. I am totally Gen Z.
Mhm.
Well, we're back again. What a day.
Yeah.
What
Da,
a
da, da.
day.
It's
It's
getting
kind of like
dreary out here.
I was gonna say it's kind of like it's like partially cloudy here. I want the sun to just break through.
It is
Just
fully
give me
cloudy
some
here.
joy.
It is just clouds. Oh my god, have you seen the reports out of Dubai?
No.
So Dubai has been messing with like cloud stuff to
Uh-huh.
make rain happen, and they have
No.
made it rain. They have made it rain, Naomi. They
What?
have had like more rain in the last, I don't know how long it's been, like maybe week, short period of time, than they had like all year.
That's crazy.
Dubai is flooded.
Wow.
Mhm.
Okay. I have to look that up.
So look
That's
that up.
wild. That's
Look
wild.
that up. Hopefully it's done by the time this episode is posted, but like
Yeah.
wild. It is insane. And maybe we don't mess with Mother Nature. I feel like
Maybe
Mother Nature is saying no.
right. Like not your territory. Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah. Um but yeah, what are you reading on this
So
dreary day here in the Northeast?
um a few weekends ago, before I went down the Grapes of Wrath and whose names are unknown rabbit hole, I was reading this book called What Wild Women Do by Karma Brown.
Hmm.
Um, I, oh, thank you, Dutton, for this. Dutton is really hitting it hard. Thank you,
I'm
Dutton,
telling
for this
you,
book.
every episode now sponsored by Dutton Books. For legal
Apparently
purposes,
she
it's not
is
sponsored by Dutton Books.
right, exactly. Apparently she is a much beloved author, but this will be my first read by her. But in this book, we are following this couple. They have some very lofty goals. Rowan, she wants to become a Hollywood screenwriter, but she's really kind of stalled in her journey to getting there. And her fiance, oh my god, I just forgot his name. Well, whatever. Her fiance, he is a novelist and he hasn't hit it big quite yet. So in the meantime, he's got this YouTube channel going and it is taken off like gangbusters. And she's in it most of the time reluctantly, but he's like, look babe, until we like both really make it, like this is helping us to like get by. It's giving us what we need, you know it's filling in the gaps, and
Mhm.
on the side we're still working on our dreams. So they decide to take a little getaway, and they go up to this little camp area, Callaway Camp. And when they get there, Rowan finds some things from the lady that started the camp. Her name is Edie Calloway. And this little mystery unravels because Edie Calloway kind of disappeared in that area where the camp is some years ago. And so Rowan is now on this like mission to kind of find out what's happened to Edie. She's become quite obsessed with Edie. She's found all these letters and things, and she kind of admires what Edie tried to do with that camp. And she's now like trying to figure out, well, what really happened to Edie Calloway? And that's kind of where I am in the book. She's just gotten um, the first remnants of evidence, if you will, about Edie, and she's going forth to see what she can find out. So I'm really enjoying it so far. Hopefully, I'll finish it this month. It's not priority for me right now, but hopefully, I'll finish it by the end of the month. And that is What Wild Women Do by Karma Brown, and this is out now.
Interesting, interesting. Um, seriously, Dutton, man. We're gonna have to
Yeah,
like, I don't know, send you a thank you card.
seriously.
So this is gonna make 0 sense probably. I guess we'll see in how in the continuity of our episodes. But, considering what episode said, I'll start this tomorrow.
Uh
But
huh.
I started Gardens of the Moon, okay? I
Uh huh.
started it. I started it,
Mm-hmm.
Naomi,
Okay.
okay?
Okay. Okay.
I cannot tell you what's happening. This is I wrote it down what I think is happening, okay? So, so I think we have like an evil colonialist empire, all right?
Mm-hmm.
We've got like a aristocratic guy who like is in their army, their military, their whatever, and
Right.
I guess that's weird. Like normally that's not what people do, but he seems like he's kind of the outcast of his family. Is what I'm getting
Right.
because like chapter 2 sounds like I'm only on chapter 2. Sounds like they're start like at the end of chapter 1 he like went home. All right, and it
Right.
seems like he's a bit of like he's not the favorite child. Okay, necromancers.
Okay.
I'm here for
Yes.
necromancers. All right, so like you already have
Yes.
you have my attention, Erickson. Sorcery. There's a creepy kid.
Yeah.
There's a creepy
I
kid.
I like creepy kids.
And I don't know if this creepy kid is like some sort of spy for the sorcery people because it sounds like colonialist people v sorcery people
Right.
is where we're going with this. And anybody who's read Malazan might just be listening here laughing at me trying to decipher this
Explain.
world
Yeah.
from chapter 1, book
Mm.
1, Malazan. Um, it also seems like there's like portals almost to like certain areas
Mm.
inside the empire. And maybe it's less like portals to a new world, but more like there's like things hidden that you have to use.
Yeah.
So I like that. I like that kind of that vibe. And that's where I am in book 1, chapter
Yes.
1. The writing's okay. It's very like epic fantasy,
Mhm.
like high fantasy writing. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of characters. I can already tell because there's a whole like just chunk of characters in the front of this. All of these are just
Oh, let me see if
characters and
mine
stuff,
has that.
and I don't know who they are. I don't know who everybody is.
Oh, okay. Yes. Okay. Uh-huh. Mine has that as
I don't
well.
know how they're all going to relate to each other. I don't know how you keep all these characters straight while writing. Um, but I'm very curious to see where this goes, and hopefully I like it. And I will have to be on the hunt for book 2 if I do, because I don't own books yet.
Right. Right.
So this is oh god, and then there's a place names. Oh my god. In the back, I have place names,
Oh, well, let me see if I have that.
a glossary.
Okay, I don't.
I
Oh,
mean,
wait. Wait, do I? Okay, wait, I have something. What's going on? Oh, okay, a glossary. Okay, got that. All right.
so I mean, this is going to take
Cities
me
and
a while.
groups,
Yeah,
people, ascendants. Yeah, okay.
gonna
The
take me a
world of
while.
sorcery.
I'm assuming
Which one do
there's
you
a
have? You
Malazan.
okay? We have a different one. Okay,
I'm assuming that there's a Malazan wiki.
there is. If you look on our Discord, I put a bunch of stuff in there.
Yeah, because I feel
Resources,
like
videos. Yeah,
I'm gonna need.
that's why I put it there because I knew that we were going to need it. Whoever was going to attempt to read this series.
So the journey has begun. That's all I can say.
I love it.
I
I
mean, you
love it.
had me at necromancy, so there's that.
I love it. I'm excited. I'm excited. Okay, I'm less scared. I'm getting back to just being excited. All right. Well, we're gonna chit chat today about
Chitty chat chat.
chit chit chat chat chat. When did this article come out? This is the no, I'm sorry, the Atlantic article. They have a list of the great American novels. This came out a few weeks ago. So we're gonna just kind of take a look at that list and chat about it. Let's see if we've read any of these great American novels. You know,
My problem with this is that I hate that I don't have this in anything other than a screen recording.
I know because you have to subscribe
Because
to
the
view the list.
Atlantic,
It's behind the
like,
paywall.
puts it behind a paywall. But I think, like, so yeah, we'll see if we read any of these, but I think one of it is, what does this even mean when you talk about the great American novel? And I think that's something that we've talked about a bunch. Um, and I think a lot of people are talking about it recently, this idea of the great American novel and what the hell that even means.
Mhm.
Because I don't quite understand what it means to because I feel like most of the time when people, and so why this list will be interesting, um, when people use the words like great American novel, the term great American novel, I feel like it rarely is used for a book that actually encompasses the totality of America and
Mhm.
all of its nuances. It is, I feel like, for the most part, a white experience.
Mhm.
Um, and I feel, and a white male experience.
Yes.
And so I just don't quite understand what that term even means, really. Like, what does it even mean anything?
I mean, I feel like it probably means something different to each entity that creates such a list,
Yeah.
right? Be it a magazine or a publisher or a university or a decades long published book reviewer. I think it probably means something a little bit different for each entity and person.
I mean, it's talking here about, I guess, the person who sort of proposed this idea of the great American novel, and it says it's a work of fiction that accomplished the task of painting the American soul, and it would be called the Great American Novel.
Mhm.
And that at the time no one had written it yet. Um, and it feels like this goalpost for writers who want to have like lasting fame. Like, I want to write the Great American Novel, but I don't know if anything truly is the Great American Novel, I guess is my point. I don't know if you can have that. I don't know if it exists. I don't know if you can write it. So we'll go through this list, but in my humble
Yeah,
opinion, I don't think that any one book can be the Great American Novel.
I would have to agree. I think it's always going to be a collective that
Mhm.
tells a great American story. But as for one book, no, it's going to be a collective of books that tells
Yeah.
the story.
So I just feel like the term itself is kind of outdated.
But what else can we say? What else could you say? You know?
I don't know. But is there
Yeah.
like a great British novel? Is there a great French novel? I mean, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
And if there are, if you're from a different place and you have a similar concept in your
hmm
literary world, I'd love to know if you feel sort of similarly as I do for the great American novel. Like, does it feel like books that get lumped into this don't capture enough of your culture?
Right.
Or is that not something that you experience? Or is this like more unique? Or do you not even have this concept? Is this like a very American thing to like try to
Right.
do this? I don't know.
Yeah.
So, anyway, so The
Because
Atlantic did come out with a list, right? And they're trying to look at, I guess, from a more modern perspective, what would be considered on a list of great American novels.
Yeah, and I should say that they say that the list includes 45 debut novels, 9 winners of the Pulitzer Prize for fiction, and three children's books. 12 were published before the introduction of the mass market paperback to America, and 24 after the release of the Kindle. At least 60 have been banned by schools and libraries. Together, they represent the best of what novels can do: challenge us, delight us, pull us in, and then release us a little smarter and a little more alive than we were before.
So I think this is the kind of episode that I would love for our people to comment on because
Yeah.
I would love to know like what do like, first of all, like do these books sound right to you? Um and then also like what would you add to the list if it's not here? Or what would be
Hmm.
on your list even if it is on here and it's duplicative? But just kind of like what are your thoughts on this whole idea of the great American novel? Because like
Yeah.
I think as a concept it's kind of dead. I don't think that it exists anymore. Um I don't think, or at least not in the way that it was originally intended. I don't, or
Hmm.
in the way that people originally interpreted it. I don't think that I I, I think it's done. Like I don't think it's applicable anymore. Um but it is interesting to see people try to sort of reimagine it or like
Well,
create
update
lists.
it, really. Continue to
Yeah.
update it
So,
to expand on the whole of America. Because what I think is when we have these conversations about the Great American Novel, I think that what people are mostly looking at is um, if a book took a very particular time and place in America and really wrote it in a way that spoke to most people
mhm,
in a vivid way that stayed with people. So
yeah.
not really writing about all of America, but like a particular time or place in America, and just really dove in hard with that to paint a very visual story for readers that would be a long lasting memory for them.
But I don't feel like but I just don't feel like if you can't if you're only if you're only capturing a small group of America, then
Yeah,
is it the great American novel?
right, right, exactly.
I I mean, and so we can go on and on back and forth, I think,
Yeah,
with
yep.
this, but
Hmm.
I think that's why this will be a really interesting one if people want to leave comments on YouTube or wherever you can leave a comment, shoot us a DM. I just feel like this is a really interesting discussion. Um, like when you say the great American novel, like what pops into your head? How do you feel about that term? Do you think that it's I just think there's a lot to unpack with it.
Hmm.
And I feel like it's a little antiquated, but anyway, you want to hit the list? Let's hit the list.
Let's hit the list. So let's start with the first three. Should I do the first three?
Sure.
All right. So you guessed it. Number one on here, The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald, published in 1925. You and I have both read that. I like
Mhm.
that book. I don't love that book, but I liked it.
I mean, I think that's probably the most traditionally cited as the great American novel. It's
Hmm.
interesting it's first on the list. It's interesting that we don't really get one until 1925. Even this list doesn't start till 1925. But I do think it's interesting. I think that it does capture time and place in a lot of ways. Um, I don't know if it's the great American novel. I think when I closed it after the first time I reread it as an adult, my question was like, how is this the great American novel? There's an entire POV that's left out.
Hmm.
Um, and I feel like that's the way I'm going to feel about a lot of these books.
For sure. For
Um,
sure. It's also interesting because it's not like The Great Gatsby was like this runaway hit from the jump. Um,
mhm.
it took a while for it to kind of like catch on. But it wasn't a book that was published and like everyone like gravitated toward it immediately and raved about it. So it took
Yeah.
a little bit of time. And then the second book is An American Tragedy by Theodore Dreiser, also published in 1925. I've never read that book. I've never heard of that book.
Mm-mm,
And the
mm-mm.
third is The Making of Americans by Gertrude Stein, published in 1925. I have heard of this book, but I've never read it.
I do like that Gertrude Stein is on here. I think that it's nice to see some very like powerful sort of feminist writers on here
Yeah.
from the get go. Like not because this is gonna go from past to present, this
Mhm.
list. It's gonna get a little bit more contemporary as we go down, so it's kinda nice to see some back in the day kind of,
Yeah.
feminist writers. Um, Not that Gertrude Stein doesn't have her own issues, but, who doesn't? Oh,
Right?
I do like that this list exists so that I can read more things that I've never read because 'cause I've never read Making of
Absolutely.
Americans. Let me
Absolutely.
try to fast forward here a little bit on my video. I've only read I read I think I've read 2 of these. So Death Comes for the Archbishop by Willa
Mhm.
Cather. Um, A Farewell to Arms by Ernest Hemingway, which I believe I read in high school. This is, like, again, in that blurry section of life where I think I was supposed to read something, but I'm not sure if I did, but I've also read so much Hemingway, I can't remember what I've read and what I haven't anymore.
Right.
Um, and then, of course, the delightful Passing by Nella Larson, from 1929, and I do think Passing plus, The Great Gatsby is the closest you're gonna get to a 1920s great American novel if you read them in tandem,
Mhm.
because they give you a much broader view of America at the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Um, I have not read anything by Willa Cather, but I do own O Pioneer and the second book in that series, I think.
I own
Um,
something.
but I haven't read them yet. Um, yeah, I've never read Hemingway. I'll get to him one day.
Oh, I do enjoy Hemingway. I know, as a person, he's problematic as fuck, but, like, I do enjoy his writing. I think he and what's interesting, I think a lot of these first of the authors that I know, there's a lot of people here in the 20s that are writing in a way that I enjoy, which is, like, very sparse, condensed writing that
Mhm.
isn't overly flowery. It's very realistic almost, and I like somebody who knows literary terms will probably tell me that this is X movement of writing, but, I like that. I like, Hemingway has a very to the point, um, he doesn't use a lot of extra words if he
Mhm.
doesn't have to, and I like that kind of writing.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
We all know I love Passing. I've read that 3 times, and then when I read Negro Land by Margot Jefferson, she talks a bit about that book Passing, and it made me go like, "Oh, well, that's a different perspective, so now I gotta go back and read it a 4th time."
Mhm. I
But
mean,
I think
there's
that's the beauty of books, right? It's like reading them over and over, but, like, finding new perspectives and meaning on each read. Um,
Yeah, and there's a lot to unpack in Passing. I mean, I think there's a lot to unpack in, like, a lot of books. I mean, The Great Gatsby, there's a lot to unpack in it. I mean, there's a reason why
yeah.
it keeps being so, uh, prevalent in our reading. It's not just because we like to cite it as the great American novel and make American children read it in high school. I think that, it is something that we kind of you can find ways to relate to it. I think Passing has the same thing where as a
Mhm.
modern reader, you can still relate to things. So it makes it very, uh, readable still
Mhm.
and something people want to connect with. Where some of these other things that we might read, like, not that Dickens is American, but like Dickens or something, like it can get very,
Right.
um, it can become a lot. It can become laborious to read it or
Mhm.
something. Maybe you just don't understand it. Um, but these some of these books are still very relatable to a modern reader, which
Right. There's still like a connective tissue from the past to current day. Um,
mhm,
and you're right, Passing is definitely one of those books.
mhm.
So what do we have next? We've got The Sound and the Fury by William Faulkner, Absalom by William Faulkner.
I think it's interesting. There's two Faulkners on here.
Yeah, and I haven't read those, but I own both those books. And then we've got Nightwood by Juna Barnes, and I've never heard of that book or that author.
Me either. And yeah, it's from so we're in the 30s now, and I've never read that. I have The Sound of the Fury. I need to read Faulkner. I've learned a little bit more about, like, Faulkner lore, and he's very interesting. Um, but I don't know if I'm gonna get on with Faulkner. I feel like it's some of the books are difficult, but I have to give them a try. Um, so I guess in while you're leaving comments below, where do you start with Faulkner?
Yeah. I'm starting because he's part of my Southern Gothic project. So I started with Carson McCullers, right? And then I'll move on to I think Faulkner and Flannery O'Connor, but I got these two in light in August for that project. So
Um, so then it continues on with East Goes West by Young Hill Kang, which I don't know what that is. So I do
me
appreciate
neither.
how many things I don't know on this
I
list.
know. I always like when there's
It's
things I've
nice.
never heard of. Yeah.
It's nice. It's refreshing. Their Eyes Were
Hmm.
Watching God by Zora Neale Hurston.
That is a fantastic read.
I don't think I've ever read it. I can't this is, like, again, on the high school list where, like, I think I may have, but I don't know if I have, so I will have to do that. And then USA by John Dos Passos. I don't know what that is, and
Hmm.
I love it. I love it. I'm here for it.
Yeah.
And we're still in the 30s, which is
Still in the 30s.
interesting how we're stuck in the 30s for quite a bit of time here.
Yeah. Yeah. Um this title, Ask the Dust by John Fonte, which is published in 1939. What is that? Is that a Dust Bowl book?
Probably.
I don't know. Yeah, have to look that one up. And I've never heard of it. And then we've got The Big Sleep by Raymond Chandler, 1939. I've heard of that. I think many people have.
Mhm.
The Day of the Locust. I've also heard of
Mhm.
that by Nathaniel West, 1939. And oh, of course, we got The Grapes of Wrath by John Steinbeck,
I mean, I think
1939.
I think Steinbeck's I think there's a lot of Steinbecks that you can throw into the Great American Novel because I think he does very much write very humanistically about the people living at specific times and through specific things in America.
Mhm. Yep.
So I can see why I have a feeling he's going to hit this list a few times. I think the same
Yeah.
thing with Richard Wright, in all honesty, with
Mhm.
Native Son, which is the next one on this list.
Yep.
Um, I think that Richard Wright does a really great job of doing something very similar, but from the Black experience.
Yeah.
Um, I remember I don't know if I've read Native Son, but I definitely read Black Boy. Um, my copy of Black Boy from college and high school is embarrassing what I've done to it. But you got me a new copy, so I don't have to
Yes.
show off that. Like when you used to
Yes.
draw on your books and like write your name on the spine. It's like it is
Mhm.
destroyed. It is
Yep.
embarrassing.
Yep.
Um, and then
Yep.
this is something you've read that I haven't read yet, and that's The Heart is a Lonely Hunter by Carson McCullers.
Yep.
And I just feel like this lady is haunting me at this point, and I just need to finally read Carson McCullers.
Yes. It's incredible. Yeah. So yeah, what else we got here? We've got A Time to Be Born by Don Powell,
Mhm,
1942. All the King's Men by Robert Penn Warren, 1946. I almost picked that book up the last time I was at McKay.
mhm.
Um but I decided against it. I'm going to wait. I might read that next year, but that's been on my list for quite some time. And what else do we have here? Oh, here's a
The
favorite, The
Street.
Street by Anne Petrie or Petrie, 1946. Everyone should read this book. I definitely want to read her book, The Narrows, this year as well. Um, what a shame we don't have a huge backlog for her.
I
What a
know.
shame.
It's the same for Noah Larson. It's, there's some
Yes.
people that just, you want more.
Yeah. It would have been
Um,
so great to see like what they would have given us like later as they progressed in their career as a writer, what would their thoughts have been. Oh, just missing out on that. Just
yeah.
ah, yeah.
In a Lonely Place by Dorothy P. Hughes, The Mountain Lion by Jane Stafford. I've never read either of these. We're still in like 1947, and here we go hitting the 50s with The Catcher in the Rye by J.D. Salinger,
Mhm.
which I'm not like a huge fan of The Catcher in the Rye, but I do need to do a reread of it. Perhaps as an adult, I will have a different perspective on it. But as a
Yeah.
child, I found him a bit whiny for my
Yeah.
liking.
I don't remember this book. I know I've read it, but I don't remember this book.
Yeah.
Charlotte's
Uh,
Web?
love Charlotte's Web.
Mhm. Mhm.
But I don't know how
1952?
that's a great American novel. Like that one's throwing me for a little bit of a loop.
I don't know. If you're thinking about children's books, I don't know. Hmm. There you go. There's your
That's my
copy.
copy from my childhood.
There's your
And it's
copy.
got a little stamp in it that says this belongs to.
Ah, so cute. I love
This is
that.
one of my favorite books growing up.
That's so sweet. And then
Yeah.
we carry on with Invisible Man by Ralph Ellison, 1952. Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury, 1953. And here's a favorite of yours, Lolita by Vladimir Nabokov, 1955.
What do you first of all, didn't you skip some stuff?
Did I? I thought no. Did I?
You did.
I
Maud
did.
Martha by Gwendolyn
Oh, I'm
Brooks.
sorry. One of those freaking ads popped in there
The Adventures of
with my
Augie
little
March
video.
by Sal Bello, and then Lolita. I have such a conflicting issue with Lolita.
I have not read any Sal Bello, but I did buy one of his books at the end of last year. Now I've forgotten the name of it, but I wanted to give him a try. So hopefully I enjoy his writing.
I have not read any Sal Bello, but I have read Lolita. It is a beautifully written book. I mean, it does what Nabokov is trying to do, but I have a very hard time trying to rate Lolita because I loathed the experience of
Mm.
feeling
Mm-hmm.
so um, borderline empathetic for a child predator. Um,
Yeah.
but I respect what Nabokov was doing with the book, and it is beautifully written, and it is very well done, and it's a very trippy book to read if you haven't read it. It's very weird to place in your brain, I think,
Yeah.
um,
One day I'll
how
read
you
it.
feel about it. Yeah,
Yeah. One day I'll read it.
because 'cause you're disgusted, but then also, like, it's it's a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel you. Yeah.
Anyway,
Are you carrying
favorite,
on with the
though.
list? Mm-hmm.
Sure, Giovanni's Room by James Baldwin, 1956.
Must read.
I still really wanna read Peyton Place by Grace, Metalish
I do own Peyton
Metalish
Place.
I can't say that. I don't own it. I will find it one day. It's on my list of books to for thrifting. Um, I'm very curious about it because I know it's supposed to be quite risque, and I don't quite know how. So we'll see. We'll see. We'll
Yeah.
see when I
Yeah.
find it how it holds up to time. Because I think 1956 risque might not be quite
Right.
the same as
Exactly.
2024 risque. And then
Right.
Deep Water by Patricia Highsmith.
Mm-hmm.
I've never read, but
Yes, I've never read it and I don't own that one, but I continue my search for her books.
mhm.
And what we have, No
The
No Boy
50s is
by
giving us a lot.
yes. Now we're at the 1957. No No Boy by John Okada. I have never heard of this.
Mm-mm.
Oh, here's your favorite, Alyssa. On the Road, Jack Kerouac, 1957. And we've got The Haunting of Hill House by Shirley Jackson, 1959. I still have not read any Jackson. I would love to. Maybe that's a 2025 thing to get into her works. Um,
Yeah, I feel like I know a lot of these Shirley Jackson stories, but I've
mhm,
never read them because,
exactly.
they've been dramatized so much. So it'd be interesting to read the actual texts.
Yep, yep.
Oh, here's a book that I have unhauled and rebought entirely too many times, and that is Catch
No,
22 by Joseph Heller.
no.
Um, 'cause I always think I'm gonna read it, and then I don't, and then I'm like, "Oh, just get rid of it, you're never gonna read it," and then somehow a few years go by, and I'm like, "You know what? I should read Catch-22." So I think I'm back on a cycle where I own it. I might be back on a cycle where I own it. I'm not even
That's
sure
really
anymore.
funny.
Oh, yeah, I currently own it, so, at
That's
some point, I'm gonna read it.
hilarious. That's funny.
Yeah,
It's
I
I don't know if
promise.
the anniversary's coming up or something, but there have been a couple of articles about it, and podcast episodes about it. People doing stuff like 20 novels that are as funny as Catch 22, stuff like that. So
Hmm,
that's this book is on people's minds for some reason. So I don't know when, like, I don't know, like the month it was published, or maybe it's coming around to an anniversary or something like
who
that.
knows? A Wrinkle in Time by Madeline, L'Engle, I've never read these, I don't think, unless they were read to me as a child. I do own these to reread. I have, like, a whole stack of books I kind of wanna read that are of my childhood,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't really remember. And then
Right.
Another Country by James Baldwin.
That's my favorite Baldwin. As it stands right now, from what I've read from him, Another Country is my number one.
Have I read that? What Baldwins have I read? I don't even remember. I think I might have read it. I don't know. I can't recall anymore. I have to look it up. My brain
Yeah.
gets
I've read The Fire Next Time, The Devil Finds Work, Giovanni's Room, and Another Country.
The Fire Next Time's the one I've read. I've read Giovanni's Room and The Fire Next Time.
Mhm.
I think I have what's the mountain one?
Go Tell It on the Mountain.
I think I have that one, so that'll probably have to be my next one.
Yeah, I've got quite a few. I've got Go Tell It on the Mountain. I've got Going to Meet the Man, The Evidence of Things Not Seen, A Bill Street Could Talk, Tell Me How Long the Train's Been Gone, and Above My Head. And then
Yeah,
I have
you
a
inherited a lot from your
biography.
dad.
I did, and I've got a biography of him as well,
Mhm.
from my dad. So I've got quite a bit to get through. I want to try to get through those this year.
Yeah, the '60s has given us quite a bit as well.
Mm-hmm. We got One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. I do want to read this one day. Do I own this book?
Me
I
too. I
may
don't own
own
it,
this
but I
book.
do. I do wanna read it. I feel like
Yeah.
it's different from the movie quite a bit, and I think the movie is very at the forefront of our cultural, um, knowledge, I guess.
Yeah.
I really wanna read the book.
And then we have Pale Fire by Vladimir Nabokov, and The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath.
I
Oh, I'm
missed
sorry, I
one,
skipped
so
one. The Zebra Striped
this
Purse by Ross McDonald. I have never heard of this.
yeah.
1962.
Finding the ones that we haven't heard of very interesting, and I kinda like
Mm-hmm.
it.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
Bell Jar by Plath, which I was always very afraid to read, and I've done it, loved it. Yeah, I just find Plath very interesting as a person.
Mm-hmm.
The Group by Mary McCarthy, don't know what
I
that
have heard of
is.
this book. I have heard of this book.
And then The Crying of Lot 49 by Pynchon. Very interesting to see what this is about. This is a short Pynchon, so I should be able um to get through it. But it's also Pynchon. So
Right.
I believe Arne is supposed to call him Pynchon, but anyway, it's by him. And I will
Yeah.
eventually get through all of his stuff because I kind of feel like I don't know, it's like some people run marathons. One day I'll read all Thomas Pynchon books.
Right?
It started as a joke, but here we are.
I love it. A Sport and a Pastime by James Salter, 1967. I do have this book a couple years ago because Rebecca on the Book Riot podcast, she always talks about James Salter. And so I
Mhm.
started really trying to seek him out. So I got A Sport and a Pastime, and I got another one of his books around here. So I'll be giving him a read this year. And then we have Couples by John Updike, 1968. I have never read anything by Updike. Never.
I think I have. Oh,
And we've got
that's somebody else. I have not read Updike. Sorry, I had something in my head.
We've
I was wrong.
got Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep by Philip K. Dick, 1968. I've not read this book, but I do own a couple of his books, but I haven't read them yet.
I started The Man in the High Castle, and I just never finished it years and years and years ago, but I haven't read
Hmm.
any Dick, like, to
Yeah,
completion. I probably should.
yeah.
Um, Now I don't really know these next 2. Divorcing by Susan Taubes and Port Portnoy's Complaint by Philip Roth. Obviously, I know who Philip
Um,
Roth is, but I don't know that particular book.
do I have that book? No,
But then, of course, we have some
I have
Vonnegut,
some with Roth. Yeah.
so then we have Slaughterhouse House 5. You have to have Vonnegut on this list.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um, so Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret by Judy Blume. I've never read this. I just say this phrase to everybody named Margaret. Unfortunately.
Do you? Are you one of
I
those
do.
people?
I do. It's a problem. And then Desperate Characters by Paula Fox and Played as Lays by Joan Didion. So, like, of course, Didion
That's what
has
I
to be
was
on this.
looking for when we were out thrifting a few weeks ago. I wanted to pick up
Mhm.
some Diddy, and in particular this one. But alas, I did not find her. Um, and we're in the 70s. Log of the SS, the Mrs. Ungentine by Stanley Crawford, 1962. I've never heard of that. Never
Mm-mm.
heard of that. And then we've got Mumbo Jumbo by Ishmael Reed, 1972. Sula by Toni Morrison, 1973. I have read Sula. This is a book that definitely needs a few reads. There is a lot going on. There's a lot to unpack, and it's really a fantastic read. Um, Highly recommend it. Highly recommend it.
Yeah. I have not read any Morrison, which I thought I had, but I haven't.
I
So
thought you
one
had
day I will.
too.
Me
Maybe
too.
because
And
we're
then I
always talking
realized,
about it, it feels like you have.
yeah, I thought I had, and then I started looking at stuff and I was like, I no, I've never read any of these.
Right, right. I
And
think
it
as we're
just it
always talking about her, and I know I look for stuff from her when I'm out for you, and
yeah, so like it's kind of one of those things that's I have so many little stacks of authors I want to get to, and that's
yeah,
one of them. But I thought I had at least read some things before, but I haven't. I think I just know certain things also about
of
uh
course.
some of the books because they're such, phenomenons. They're
Hmm.
so important. So anyway. The Revolt of the Cockroach People by Oscar Zeta Acosta. No idea what that is. I feel like I wouldn't remember that.
Same.
I know this cover, and I don't know why I always thought this was like a newer book, but apparently it's from
I did
1974.
too.
And this is Oreo by Fran Ross. But also The Dispossessed by Ursula K. Le Guin. I do really like Le Guin. Um, I think that she's just very interesting. I didn't
Yeah,
know she was a translator as well. She's very interesting.
yeah. And still in the 70s, we've got Winter in the Blood by James Welch, 1974. And we've got Corregidora by Gail Jones,
Really
1975.
want to read that.
Now, yeah, I need to get into my Gail Jones. I have from my dad's collection, a poetry collection from her. And then I have Corregidora, The Healing, and something else. It's a three-book bind up. And then I got her other novel, Paul Mary's, that first one that she wrote after not writing the book for like, I don't know, 15 years or something.
Mhm.
So definitely want to get into Jones's work this year. And we've got Speedboat by Renata Adler, 1976. That cover is gorgeous. I've never
Mm.
heard of this one either. I don't know who that is. This completely new to me. Oh,
Yeah.
I know these 2. Hmm.
Ceremony by Leslie Marmon Silko. Don't know that book.
I own that book,
Um,
but I've not read it. I just picked it up last year.
Song of Solomon, Toni Morrison. There's got to be more Morrison on this list. A
Yep, I
Contract
own
with
that one
God by
too.
Will Eisner. Um, I don't know those two. I mean, obviously I know Song of Solomon, but I don't know those two. I am finding it interesting the books that I don't know. I think I've said this 6 times, but I'm finding it interesting. Um, I mean, this is how this is like a this will be interesting to read some of the things I've never heard of from here and see how I
Hmm.
feel about them in relation to this concept of the great American novel.
Right. Yeah. Dancer from the Dance by Andrew Holleran, 1978. Oh, interesting to see The Stand by Stephen King on here.
I mean, we know I'm not gonna be reading it. I'm not being disappointed for a 4th time by Stephen King.
I do have The Stand. I do want to read this one. I mean, I had a lot of Stephen King books, a lot. I unhauled all but two of them, and The Stand is one of them.
Mhm.
We got the wonderful Kindred by Octavia E. Butler, 1979.
I did like that.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
The Dog of the South by Charles Portis. Finally, we're hitting the 80s. I'm almost alive.
Woo!
Housekeeping by Marilyn Robinson, which I do need to reread because I did not see what you saw in this. I have some friends who really love Robinson, and I just wonder if I didn't give it the proper like attention while I was reading it.
Hmm.
And
You
then the
know
Salt
what?
Eaters by
Let's read it together and then chat about it and see where we land
we could do that.
in a
We can do
discussion
that.
about it. Yeah.
We could do that. The Salt Eaters by Tony Care Bombara. I
Tony
probably
K.
said that wrong.
Bombara. And I want
Hey,
to read
there.
this book really badly. And if you don't remember, when we had a black man reading Akili Nazuri on our show, this is one of the books that he recommended. And so I've been looking for it ever since he recommended that book to our wonderful listeners. But I do
Mm,
think I own one book by Tony. I think I ran across one while thrifting, but I never see the Salt Eaters. So I'm going to have to just order that one on Abe.
mm,
And what else we got
right.
here? Little Big or The Fairies Parliament by John Crowley, 1981. That's completely new to me.
Mm.
Um, Oxerding Tale by Charles Johnson, 1982. Charles Johnson, why does that name sound familiar? Machine Dreams by Jane Ann Phillips, 1984. Nope, new to me, new to me.
Yeah. Then we have some classics that everybody knows. Also, by the way, I'm finally alive. It's 1985. Blood Meridian by Cormac McCarthy.
Yes,
This
fantastic.
You knew Cormac McCarthy would be on here. Summons to
Mhm.
Memphis by Peter Taylor, which I don't know that book, but The
But that
Watchmen by
title makes me
Alan
wanna read it though, A Summons to Memphis? Yeah, okay, yeah.
Watchmen by Alan Moore and Dave Gibbons. I think that this is really interesting that they threw this graphic novel in here.
Yeah,
And I really
right?
like Watchmen. Watchmen's really good. I read that years ago.
Mhm,
I should probably read that again. A phenomenal graphic novel. Um, so very, very cool that that's on there actually.
interesting. And, Beloved by Toni Morrison, 1987, deemed one of the greatest Southern Gothic pieces of literature ever written. It is I've read Beloved, but it definitely requires, another read, multiple reads, in my opinion. Done by Octavia E. Butler, 1987. I can't remember which series this is of hers, but at some point I would like to get to those two sci-fi series that Butler has. Geek Love by Catherine Dunn. There are a lot of people who love this book.
I almost
Um,
grabbed it for my Kindle the other day, and now I'm thinking maybe I need to go back and get it because
yeah,
I was like, "What is
it
this?"
is
I'd
a
never heard of it
very
before.
much beloved book. Yeah. I've never read it, but I have heard mentions of that book for a long time, and it's never
Hmm.
a bad mention.
So I'm gonna have to do that, I think. Circle back
Yeah.
and get myself that for the Kindle. Tripmaster Monkey, Maxine Hong Kingston. I don't know what that is.
Yes, that name, that title. What? Trip Master Monkey. I'm in. Tag me in.
Dog Dog Eaters by Hagdorn? I don't know.
Mm,
And then of course American Psycho by Bret Easton Ellis. I mean, I don't think that you could have this kind of list without American Psycho in all honesty. So like
right.
I understand why that's there.
Yeah. And How the Garcia Girls Lost Their Accents by Julia Alvarez, 1991. We've got Mating by Norman Rush. I've heard of that book.
Mhm.
1991. Oh, this book is also on my list to read for Southern Gothic literature. Bastard Out of Carolina by Dorothy Allison, 1992. I always look for
I
that and I
don't
never see it.
I don't know if I agree with this next one, but I will be doing a reread, so perhaps. But The Secret History by Donna Tartt, I don't know.
What's so great about it, or how it
No,
just
I
fits
just don't.
into this
I just
idea
don't know.
of
Yeah, I don't know how it fits into the idea of the Great American Novel. I guess my problem
privileged
is,
high society,
but like,
secret
it's so
society.
much more modeled off of like the idea of like being at Oxford than it is about like, I don't know. It doesn't feel unique to America, so it doesn't feel like, I don't know.
Mm,
Fight me in the comments.
interesting.
So Far
Uh-huh.
from God by Anna Castillo, um, and Stone Butch Blues by Leslie Feinberg. I think it's interesting how few books I know the closer I get to today compared to the books in the past, which is just fascinating to me.
Yeah, yeah. The shipping news. I do own this book by Annie. I know it's so simple to say her last name, but I never remember how to say it. I don't know. Lacey told me one time. But the shipping news, 1993, Native Speaker by Chang Ray Lee, 1995. Sabbath Theater by Philip Roth. I do own that book, 1995.
Hmm.
Um, Under the Feet of Jesus by Helena Maria Viramontes, 1995. I've never heard of that,
Mm-mm.
and I'm
Infinite
curious.
Jest, David Foster Wallace. Perhaps one day I will finish it. Pisses me off, that book.
Yeah, I've
Um,
got that book. It's in the attic though.
it's just an irritating experience to read it. I think it would bother me less if they had just made the audiobook where they read the footnotes
Uh-huh.
instead of making a little ding so that you can go
Yeah.
look up the footnotes. And I and it just bothers me. So I think I may just need to do an ebook of Infinite Jest so that they're hyperlinked, so I could
Right.
stop having to. I can't do the flipping back and forth, and I understand the flipping back and forth is part of the experience of Infinite Jest, but if you want me to ever finish this book, I can't do the flipping back and forth.
She's like, for the
Um,
love of God, please.
I can't do it. I Love Dick by Chris Kraus, Underworld by Don DeLillo,
DeLillo.
there DeLillo.
I have two
Um,
copies of that book.
I have never read any, and I don't have this. I have something else of his.
I
Um,
have a lot of DeLillo on my shelves. Oh, is that a favorite coming up?
it is for you.
Indeed, it is. The Intuitionist by Colson Whitehead, 1999. Yeah. Blonde by Joyce Carol Oates came out in 2000. Here we go.
I don't know
Um,
why this is on the list.
Marilyn Monroe, America, really?
No, not that.
Oh,
Next one.
oh, House of Leaves by Mark Z. Danielewski. I don't know. I do not know.
I'm not
Also, am I
understanding.
ever gonna read that book? It's only been on my shelves for like years and years. When am I
I've
gonna
tried
read
a few
this?
times. I can't. Maybe one day. I don't know. Maybe when I retire.
Well, you know everyone should read the next one, The Amazing
I
Adventures of
don't.
Cavalier and Clay by Michael
I know you.
Chabon. Came out in 2000. That is an incredible book.
One day when I'm one day. Uh, The Last Samurai, Helen DeWitt.
I want to read that.
Yeah.
I want to read that.
The Quick and the Dead by Joy Williams. That one I do want to read.
Mhm.
This will be my next Everett erasure. Virtual
Yeah.
Everett. Um, oh, I just got a pop up in the screen recording and it freaks
It'll
me
go
out. And
away in a second. Yeah.
I was gonna click on it. I can't click on it.
And then we've
Oh,
got I, the Divine by Robbie Alameddine, which came out in 2001. I've never heard of this book or the author.
mm-mm.
The Corrections by Jonathan Franzen, 2001. I am going to read my Franzen this year. Um, that's going to happen. Yeah, get into Franzen. What else we have? Caramello by Sandra. How do you say that?
Cisneros.
Cisneros. That came out in 2002. I'm not familiar with this book of hers.
Mm-mm. Me either. Uh, Perma Red by Deborah Magpie Erling. I don't know what that
I
is.
have
The
this
cover
book.
look.
I have this book. I got that last year too, or maybe a couple years ago.
The Russian Debutante's Handbook, Gary
Mm,
Stegart. I don't know how to say that guy's name.
mhm.
The Namesake by Jhumpa Lahiri.
Yeah, I
You
have
love
this book. Yeah.
that makes you happy.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know. I feel like it's starting to get like a little interesting the picks they've got here.
Mhm. What is this? Veronica by Mary Gateskill. This came out in 2005. Never heard of that. I have heard of this next one, The Brief Wondrous Life of Oscar Wilde or Wu by Juno Diaz. I want to give that author a try. I've never read anything by them, so I'm a little curious. Visit from the Goon Squad by Jennifer Egan. That came out in 2010. That was a pretty good book. I enjoyed that.
I worry about reading it because I feel like I've seen some people that have read this more recently, and it sounds like it doesn't hold up potentially for some people.
Hmm,
Like it's a little dated.
I'm okay with data
I don't know.
sometimes. Yeah,
I haven't read it, so I don't
yeah.
know. I Hotel Karente Yamashita.
Never heard of that.
Um, mm-mm. Open City, Teju Cole. Never heard of that. Salvage the Bones by Jasmine Ward. Obviously, we've heard of this. I have
Mhm.
not read any Jasmine Ward, and I do need to fix that at some point.
Yeah. The Roundhouse by Louise Erdrich, 2012. I've only read one thing, if I'm not mistaken, by her, and that was The Sentence. But I do own some of her other books.
I read one thing
Um,
and I cannot recall the name of it, and I did really enjoy it. So I would not be opposed to reading more.
yeah, definitely. And we've got Americana by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, 2013. I don't know why. I just have no interest in reading that book. I don't know what it is. And I know it's supposed to be so fantastic, but like I have zero desire.
Well, you should read the next one because I really enjoyed the next one.
Nevada by Imogene Benny came out in
Mhm.
2013. I am familiar with this book, but no, I have not read it, but I shall be sure to pick it up when I run across it while thrifting.
It's a really good um, look at the trans experience in a very specific moment in time, um, in like the early 2000s, and it's it's really good. I think the afterwards is also really impactful, where the author talks about writing this book and culture at the time and all of that. I do not like that it gets billed as a sort of like a road trip novel. It's a novel in two
Oh,
parts. And in
okay.
between those two parts, when you're not on the page, there is,
Yeah.
I assume, a road trip because there is a
Hmm.
movement from one city to another, but it's not a road trip novel. Like you're not on
Right.
the road trip. So I hate when
Right.
people call it that. It really that is an annoying. It's an annoying thing
Yeah.
to me.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You just gave me this, which is very exciting. A Brief
Yeah.
History of Seven Killings by Marlon James. Very
Yes.
excited for that.
I'm reading his
Family,
backlist this year, so I'm excited to get into his work. Really
yeah,
excited.
Family Life by Akil Sharma. Never
Never
read
heard of this
that.
person or this book.
And then Fates and Furies by Lauren Groff. I do need to get to this.
Yes.
Uh, yeah,
Yes, because I'm dying to know how you get on with it.
yeah. I mean, I like the way Matrix was written, but like,
Hmm.
it wasn't like overly impressed with the book in any way, shape, or form. It was just kind of like that was a book
Yeah, I, I,
that was well
I,
written. I
I read The
enjoyed
Matrix
myself,
too.
but
It was fine, but the
yeah,
Face and Fury just really got a hold of me,
yeah.
and I definitely felt more connected to all the people. So then we got the fifth season by N.K. Jemisin. That is book one in the Broken Earth trilogy, which is phenomenal. And I need to read that one again. That came out in 2015. We got The Sellout by Paul Beatty. We both have that book. Yeah, I think I sent you one or we got it together or something. That came out in
Mhm.
2015. And The Sympathizer by Viet. I don't know. I don't want to mess his name up, but I think you all know The Sympathizer. This is going to be adapted, I think, into a show or a movie very soon. Um, so maybe I should
We'll
read
see.
the book before that happens because I
Yeah,
kind of want
I always almost pick that up when I'm in a bookstore, and then
to. And
I
same.
don't.
sometimes I actually have it in the cart and then I take it out the cart. And that, but I'm gonna get it because I want to read it before I watch the
Yeah.
adaptation.
Amiable with Big Teeth, Claude McKay. I don't know what that is. Lincoln in the Bardo. I have soft unhauled this. This is by George Saunders. I may give it another reread before I unhaul it.
I've got it in the attic. Maybe I should give it a try this year.
Sabrina Nick Donaso.
Never heard of
I
this
don't know.
person or this book.
Me either. We got to be nearing the end here. This is getting.
Yeah, Severance by Ling Ma. We both read and enjoyed that book. Um, Different take on a dystopian novel. There by Tommy Orange. We both read and enjoyed that. That was a TBR Lowdown community read pick a couple years ago. Lost Children Archive by Valeria Lucelli. I just picked this book up last year while I was in McKay. I looked for that for a while. It was hard to find, but lucked up one day. And
Uh,
you want to carry on?
I think this is interesting. Nothing to see here. Kevin Wilson.
You
Uh,
will love that book.
yeah, and it's weird that it's on here just because I would never think of that. So maybe I do
Mm-hmm.
need to read it one of these days. The Old Drift by Namwali Serpel. No idea
Mm-hmm.
what that is.
I
No
do
one is
own
talking
that
about
book.
us. No one is talking about this. Patricia Lockwood.
No.
I know you love that book so much.
Oh yeah, so much.
Oh, we got two more. I do love this next one here. The Love Songs of W.E.B. Du Bois by Honore Fanon Jeffers.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, that book is
Fantastic.
phenomenal. I like, but like this one, I could see. This next one, I don't know. It feels like the closer we get to the present day, they're just kind of like putting popular books on.
Maybe. I have not read Biography of X by Catherine Lacey, so I cannot say either way.
Because that's the list. I don't know. I
Yeah.
I don't know, folks. I don't know. That's the list. You'll have to tell us what you think about it.
Yeah. Let
I
us
do
let
want
us
to read
know.
Biography of X, but I've heard really mixed things about it.
I want to
Um,
read her stuff in pub order. She's got a few things that I would like to read it from the start to finish.
no, I'm okay. I don't need to do that. You have this thing about being in pub order, and I'm just like, when I have a book, I read it.
So you have it. See, I have none of hers. So if I don't
I
have
don't have it.
anything, oh, I thought you
I don't
had
have
it.
it. Mhm.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I try to do pub order if I can. It doesn't always work out, but when I make an effort to do that, I make that happen.
Mhm.
Interesting. I am very intrigued by the ones that I've never heard of a day in my life. Um,
Same.
I'll throw those on a list and keep an eye out to see what I run across over the next couple of years. You know me. I'm a patient thrifter. You know this about me.
I know. So am I.
Very patient. It must be our superpower. Um so yeah. Let us know what you think, what you guys think of this list. And percentage wise, how many of these books have you read? Um how many of these
Mine's
books
very low.
you aware of? Yeah, same. Interesting.
Yeah.
I still
Yeah.
love these lists regardless because I'm always hoping to run across something that's very, new to me.
Yeah. There's definitely a lot that I've never heard of. There's definitely a lot that I have heard of that I just haven't gotten to yet, and it's kind of a reminder to pick it up and read it. Um,
Absolutely.
but yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Do you feel like those books are like great American novels? I don't know. I don't
I don't
know.
know.
I don't think so.
I mean, so I'm trying to figure out how the old drift fits in there. Like the old drift is sci-fi. I have not read it, but I own it. Um, I don't know, and like nothing to see here. I wonder. I don't know, because
See,
I
like
know
I don't
what
know.
that book's about, and I'm trying to figure out, well, how does that fit? Very interesting. Now there is a video on their channel on YouTube, and what's her name? The sports journalist lady. Damn it, that black lady. I forget her name, but anyway, she's interviewing the three people, which includes what's the guy that wrote that book?
Wow, you're giving me a lot here.
I know, because I'm trying to. What is his name? How the word is passed? Clint Smith. He and two other ladies. I think they're the ones that worked on this list, and
Mhm.
I think her name is Jamel, that sports journalist. Anyway, she's interviewing them and they're talking about how they came up with some of these titles and what these discussions were like, and trying to figure out, like, does this make sense? Does that make sense? And what they decided to pull back and what they decided to put on there, even though it may be controversial. So I think that's a good video to kind of watch to get a more broader understanding of where and how they made these decisions to come up with this list. It's worth watching.
We could drop that in the show notes for anybody who wants
Yeah,
to give it a watch.
yeah, I'll do that.
Um, but yeah, no. I mean, I feel like the beginning half is sort of solid, and then the closer we get to today, I don't know. I don't know. But I do think that not one book on this list would I don't think you can point to one book on this list and be like, this is the
Right,
great
like
American
that's the
novel.
no, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, is it book recommendation time?
It darn sure is. Oh, am I going?
Yes.
All right. Well, I talked about a book that I was reading, but I finished it, and it's Nuclear War by Annie
Mhm.
Jacobson. And yes, I'm still terrified, even more so. Thank you
And
very
now she's
much.
building a fallout shelter.
Yes, I am. Because as they like to remind me in this book, there's no one coming to help you. So good luck.
Great.
Terrifying. Thanks again, Dutton, for this
Awesome.
book. This really was fantastic. I am not joking when I say this book did terrify me. I'm saying it in a very funny way, but like it did like scare me. It's a scary thing. Nuclear war is not like, oh, someone, shot bullets at a wall. This is like serious stuff here. And it's so descriptive and so vivid. And so I want to just read something from the paper they sent me. So um this book is based on dozens of exclusive new interviews with military and civilian experts who have built the weapons and have been privy to the response plans and have been responsible for those decisions should they have needed to be made. Okay, so I wanted to point that out. And this is like a ticking time bomb, if you will. It's like a scenario of like what if this happens, and it, like, minute by minute, it explains like what kind of decisions need to be talked about, what procedures need to be put in place, and at the same time, what is happening to the world and the people where this nuclear bomb has been set off. And it is so terrifying, and it I mean, I was filled with anxiety. I'm not even going to lie about that. It's a lot to take in because it's horrific. It's absolutely horrific. And when you think about all of the people that are at play with, who has this code and who's going to be in charge if this happens, like, it's so complicated and so convoluted at the same time. It's just terrifying to imagine, but it's extremely informative. And if you can stomach it, I think that it's a really good book to pick up and read, just to like educate yourself on this scenario. So highly recommend Nuclear War, a Scenario by Andy Jacobson.
I was just looking to see if I had anything else to recommend because I don't really have much to recommend. I don't have anything new to recommend. So I'm gonna re-recommend A Gentleman in Moscow by Amo Trolls for two
Very
reasons.
timely, ma'am. Very
One
timely.
because it's well, three reasons. One, it's phenomenal. Two, it
Yes.
is now a show. I think it's on Paramount. I don't know. Jesus and I need to find a way to watch it, and we will be watching it. I do hate the streaming. Like you have to find. Anyway, we have too many streaming channels right now. And then three, there is a new short story collection out for Amor Trolls. So I will pimp that while I figure out how to get my hands on that collection um,
Hmm.
as well. But I love this. This is about aristocratic man in Russia who ends up being basically put on house arrest inside this hotel, and you get to watch the changing landscape of Russia through the lens of this hotel and the people coming to this hotel and him in his life living in this hotel and not being able to leave it. And it's phenomenal and sad, and uh, I I love it so much. Absolutely phenomenal book.
Now, I
Jesus loves
really,
it. It's tabbed up. We this is a house favorite, okay?
yeah, it is a great book. And really, thank you again for recommending Amor Toes to me a few years ago.
You're welcome.
Because I plowed through those three books in like a month, and oh, just just worth every freaking page. Now, I have not watched the adaptation yet of A Gentleman in Moscow, but I have read and listened to things about it, and I'm very curious as to where I'm going to land with the adaptation because things have been punched up that are a little bit different from the book. So if I have some
Yeah.
time this weekend, I may give it a watch. I think you could just. I think when I was on my Amazon account, I think I could
I
watch it
saw
there.
something.
Yeah,
I saw something there, so we'll have to it's difficult
yeah,
for the 2 of us to sit down at the same time and watch anything since we're
right,
on
right,
alternate schedules, but, like, we're gonna try. So,
yeah,
hopefully we can do that soon and finally watch the adaptation and see how we feel about it.
right.
But
And
I'm just happy.
I did put it in our Discord. The Lincoln Highway is also going to be adapted. The
Yeah.
creator of Bear, um, the Bear, he's going to be working on that. So I'm super excited about that as well. So that makes me wonder because I did read that at some point back in the day, Rules of Stability was picked up and then it was dropped. So I
Mhm.
wonder now that General de Moscow is now out and the Lincoln Highway has been is also in the works. I'm wondering now, will someone go back and pick up Rules of Stability? So that'll be interesting.
Well, we shall see.
Yeah, he's having his moment, which is great.
Yeah. So,
Anyway,
anyway.
follow us everywhere, folks, at TBR Lowdown. Go to our website to find out what we're working on, all of our projects, all of the ways you can get involved, and hanging out with us on our Discord and whatnot at tbrlowdown.com. And why don't you just go ahead and share this with 20 friends? I'm feeling very bold today. 20 is a good number.
Who has 20
20,
friends?
you're talking to the barista at the Starbucks or at the Dunkin' Donuts. Just tell her about TBR Lowdown. She may be a reader. He may be a reader. They may be a reader. Just go ahead and share the news. Share the news. TBR
Just
Lowdown. We
honestly,
read books.
friends.
We talk about books. We love
Mhm.
books. All right. That's
Mhm.
going to do it for us. We are out of here. Bye.
Bye.